Welcome back to Church After Hours, episode 2. We just finished episode 1. The reviews is out. Everybody is loving the first episode. And I'm so surprised. I didn't think a lot of people would listen to it right off the top, but we've been getting great feedback. People loving the information and growing up in the church and the stories, and they're looking forward to season 1. So, Kurt, what did you think about our first episode, man?
I thought it was great. The energy was amazing. The feedback I got was they're waiting for the next one. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Yeah. People was like, yo, we love the intro, but we really want to get into the next episode and really see, how this podcast, will affect us. But we got our brother in the building. We're not going to waste y'all time. We got our man, Barry Bondz. B. Bondz, what's good with you, family? What's going on up in NYC?
Peace, Barry.
Everything is beautiful. Lovely, rainy day. Thank God to be alive. What's going on, Kurt, D? Glad to be here with y'all. Let's get into it.
Absolutely. Now, before we do, man, what was your takes on the first episode? I know you got a chance to check it out. What was your thoughts?
First episode was really good. I felt good listening to it because it was a walk down memory lane. I got to, rehash a lot of great memories, and it just really sparked those memories. It was really a really good, thorough first episode.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's get into it, man. Now, last week we talked about me, joining Lincoln Heights and doing an audition with Reverend Pipers. My first Sunday playing there was on Christmas 1991. And I didn't meet you until early 92 at youth choir rehearsal, man. Talk about our first meeting and where you were at in life, because I love to hear the story when you talk about, kind of our journeys. I'm coming from Chicago, you coming from Lincoln Heights, you experienced some tragedy, man. Talk about our first meeting when we had a chance to link up and how we linked up in early 92.
All right, so 92, that was a traumatic year for me just because I had gone through some hardships. I had a very close friend that I'd grown up with who passed away, Nakia Lemon. I brought this young man to the church. We played ball together, used to cut my hair. He was very instrumental in my early childhood, as far as just, learning the streets, learning different things, even cutting hair, he taught me a lot. We had a very, great friendship. And, one day, New Year's Eve, I was inviting him to the watch service for church. He wanted me to come over so he could cut my hair. I got there a little late. And when I got there, I saw the cops outside. I saw the people standing around. And, they brought a body out in a body bag. And I was just like, what's going on? And, one of the people in the crowd said, it's Nick. It's Nick. And I just immediately just lost it, and broke down. And apparently him and a group of guys were upstairs in his room, and they were playing with a gun. And, they were playing Russian roulette. And, I was supposed to be there. I was supposed to be there getting my hair cut, but they were playing Russian roulette. Nick had the gun on his turn. Boom. And that was it. So, it was one of those things. And then after that, of course, I was very, very heartbroken over the sudden passing of Nick. So I started rebelling.
How old were you?
I was 14. And just maybe before that, I had lost another friend, a very close friend named Jimmy Sales. His mother committed suicide and in her car. They live right around the corner from us. Committed suicide in her car. When Jimmy got home that night from the game, because Friday night, everybody goes to high school football. He went inside, and saw his mother in the car with the garage door down, car running, carbon monoxide fumes. He tried to get her. He tried to bring her out of the car and got overtaken by the fumes. Damn. And he died as well.
Damn.
These two deaths.
Trauma.
And that night, I remember Jimmy saying to me, like, Barry, can I come spend the night at your house, man? I really don't want to go home. And I was like, I don't know, bro. Like, he was asking people, and he couldn't find anyone he could go to. He didn't want to go home. So these two deaths, really just had me, messed up. I was doing all kind of things, getting into fights. I was, doing all kind of stuff like breaking in homes and whatnot, hanging with the wrong crowd, stealing starter jackets, Walkman, stuff like that. I came to that fork in the road where I had to make a decision. Well, I guess my mother had to make a decision, and that decision was for me to go to the church and get more active in the church. That's where she put me in. I went kicking and screaming, but lo and behold, I met you guys. So
Yeah.
Great decision. Great
yeah,
Great.
decision by moms.
Great
yeah,
decision. And it's crazy because my experiences at that time wasn't as traumatic, but I remember moving to Ohio kicking and screaming. Me and my grandma was trying to, convince my parents to let me stay in Chicago with her because my older sister was a senior, so she stayed, and they wasn't having it. My pops was like, "You got to go with your younger brother and sister, and you can't stay." So I think my parents will tell you that was maybe the only time I ever gave them any issues or did any rebelling because I didn't want to go. So when I got to Lincoln Heights and that first choir rehearsal, and I saw you and I met you, and I'm like, this dude was just killing me, man, because I'm on the drums and his boy Cisco, who plays the drums, he's speaking up saying, well, why ain't y'all get a job to Cisco? Why y'all get a job to this dude from Chicago? So it was a little friction and turmoil at first, but I took it as fun jabbing. I never took it personal. Talk about that night, man, because that was a classic night when I first
yeah,
met
yeah.
y'all
Well,
at choir rehearsal.
well, y'all know me. You know what I'm saying? I'm always a jokester of the crew. Well, I guess me and Moody, probably
Right.
more so Moody than me.
Right.
But when I was in there, of course, I had a friend, Cisco Hughes. He lived right next door to me, and he was just finding his love for the drums, for percussions, and he was playing so much. His boy would play every day. He would carry them sticks around with him everywhere. So when we got to the church, his people had already had a church down in Lincoln Heights, where he was playing drums. But I invited him. To Lincoln Heights. I said, "Come here." But he already knew Charles Fold because he was playing for the Charles Fold Singers.
Right.
So I was like, "All right, cool. Come here and try out or just sitting on the youth choir or whatever." So I brought him, and I saw this other guy on the drums, and I'm like, "Yo, man, who is this dude, man? Get this dude up off the drums, man. He whack, man. He weak, man. Get him off the drums. Let my man Cisco play, man. My man Cisco can play, man. Let my guy in." And that was you. And I mean, we started off, pretty rocky. I mean, I was, antagonizing you. I didn't know who you were. I just
Right.
Chicago. I was like, "Oh, who is this dude? Coming to my city, coming to my church too, trying to take over. Nah, we ain't having it. Where my man Cisco at?" And it's just one of those things. Most relationships start from a point of adversity. So I guess it was, destined to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Kurt, when you came into the church crew, it was a little bit later. And I always love to hear you tell the story about how we even first met you in Fairfield. It wasn't even at church when me and Bondz actually met you together, which was really weird because I was thinking about this and I'm like, this dude lived literally right, like not even a full block away from us. And it took me a while before I actually met you. And it was maybe because of the age gap. Me and your sister went to school together. Me and your sister went to school together, and you and my brother went to school together. So talk about that a little bit, man.
Yes. We all know that when you're younger, age gaps are bigger, right?
Yeah.
I was the youngest of the crew, like by 4 years. My sister was 4 years older than me. But I always had a way with the ladies. And I was talking to this young lady that was 3 or 4 years older than me around the corner. And, I would cut through a couple yards and be right at her crib. And this particular evening that I come over to her crib to see her and hang out, it's 2 other brothers there, 2 other young guys that I did not recognize. One being D, the other being Bird. So, right, come to find out, me being the as they would label it, toxic masculinity today, I had just pushed your younger brother D, which was Jay, at school. I had just pushed him. He was new to the school. I don't know if I was jumping him in my gang or what, but I don't know what he had said. He probably had used something. He probably said, Joe, you blah, blah, blah. He probably dropped a new Chicago term on me that I wasn't familiar with, and I pushed him. But fast forward to the night meeting y'all, I remember you asking me like, yeah, you the little, you might have said, I'm sure you probably used the nigga, you know what I'm saying? You little nigga to push my brother, ain't you? And I remember that because I'm like, oh, Like this could have went left. Barry was woofing too. You know what I mean?
Of course he was.
Barry was woofing. If you know Barry, he the child he was made him the man he is today, right?
Exactly.
As for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So, which makes me think about God bless the day and your friend. That's Barry. That is so Barry. Going to the New Year's Eve thing, he got to get his haircut first, right?
Right.
Even at 14. Right. So
going to church.
So seeing you guys, in all actuality, it was a relief, especially being in Fairfield, where it wasn't much of us at that time at all.
Right.
So, things happened. We got over that day, and we started hanging out.
Absolutely.
Even though I was in the grade with your brother, and like I said last episode, 1998, a hell of a year for hip hop. Even though I was with your brother, it was times that we hung real tight.
Right. Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a pause for the calls because we have to get into this segment, and it is called The Holy Hustle. As we talked about in episode 1, the Holy Hustle is a segment that will be featured on this podcast every week. And the creator of the term Holy Hustle is none other than Mr. Barry Bondz himself, who's with us. So explain to us real quick what the Holy Hustle is, and then give us your Holy Hustle story for episode 2.
All right. The Holy Hustle was like this. I came up with this term because I started seeing all kind of preachers, all kind of, clergy out here hustling people for all their hard-earned money and just selling them Jesus Christ. That's all he was selling them hope in Jesus Christ, and that's it. So I said, you know what, man? I'm tired of these people sitting up here holy hustling. It's not fair. It's not cool. And they seem to be getting to the bag and everything, and everybody else
getting to the bag.
So I said, the holy hustle is real. Don't be a victim of it. And I see today a lot of people are still being victims of it. So my holy hustle story, I got a lot of them actually, but my holy hustle story was hanging out with this young little tender that I was trying to get with, right? And I was trying to get with her for years. So we
tenderoni?
Tenderoni.
Not a tenderoni.
She was super tenderoni. So
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? That you call any heartbreak. This was one of those little holy hustle heartbreaks, right? So I'm hanging out with this chick. I'm trying to get with her for the longest. She's giving me the side eye. She's giving me the stiff arm. She's giving me the slip away. So when I finally get her, my senior year, I finally get her, right?
You said the slip away.
The slip away. You know what I'm saying? Just when you think you got her,
right? You got to wrap up, baby.
She just slips away. So I finally get her, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Me and her, you know what I'm saying? I think we're going to, do this or whatever. And then all of a sudden, Reverend Do-Wrong with a Jerry curl came through. And he just pretty much, swept her off her feet. He came through. He started singing, bringing his little group. And I can't name his name, but they was the Holy Hustlers. There was a little choir called the Holy Hustlers. They came through from UC, and they was singing, and it was a whole bunch of them, way older. He was way older. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just throwing that out there.
When we were younger, that age gap, 4 or 5 years.
It was slippery. It was slippery.
I mean,
it was slippery.
College. It's college to high school, and I mean, almost graduating college to like second year high school. I'm just putting that out there.
It was a little more acceptable in the 90s. Go ahead, brother.
He got up on her and everything, and once he got up on her, it was pretty much over for me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he was whining and downing her with the word of Jesus Christ, and you know what I'm saying? She was sipping the Jesus juice, and she was just done. And even my homeboy, he even got mesmerized with the Holy Hustle. He started playing for the Holy Hustle.
Who was that?
For the Holy Hustlers. You know what I'm saying? Homeboy right here started playing for the Holy Hustlers.
Hey, you was getting that Holy Hustle paper too.
Oh man, the boy took out his little flute, started. D just was like this. He was like this. D and old girl was just like this. Old girl was definitely like this. She was praise dancing her way all the way through.
Wow.
Them checks was nice. He was paying me well to play for him. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I bet. And then he Holy hustled her. And then once he had his feel, once he had their little situation and whatnot, like, oh, girl just dropped me flat. Didn't talk to me, nothing. It was flat. You know what I'm saying? That's how strong the Holy Hustle is. All right. So if you're out there trying to Holy Hustle it, you get them on the Jesus juice, they're gonna drop whoever they was dealing with flat. She dropped me flat, and after a while, he had his, little time or his little take or whatnot, and then he dropped that off. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much dropped that off, and he kept going, and now he out here buying Lamborghinis for chicks. You know what I'm saying?
All right, that is the
for his
Holy Hustle. That is Holy Hustle segment 1, and many more to come. All right,
got me all out of character, man. That
absolutely.
Beat.
So that was our first official Holy Hustle story here on episode 2 of Church After Hours. Definitely a good one. Definitely.
And I remember that I was a spectator.
Right.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna say nothing. Right?
Absolutely.
Tough times, definitely.
Absolutely. So let's get into this next segment, man. I want to talk about where we are now. And I know at one point in time, B, we grew up in the Baptist church, Lincoln Heights Missionary Baptist Church. And, AZ always had a line that I love, born a Baptist, but moved on to a higher practice. That line to me, when he first said it as a youth, really didn't mean anything to me because I was a Baptist. But as I got older and my thoughts started to change and I started to evolve spiritually and even on a higher mental note, that resonated with me. And at one point in time, you made a transition where you basically pivoted and left Christianity and became a Muslim and started partaking with the Nation of Islam. Talk about that switch and what made you pivot and go in that direction.
Well, when I moved to New York, it was one of those things where when you're separated or segregated from everyone that, you knew coming up, all your friends, your day ones, and you're up here by yourself, you have a lot of time to think and reflect. And upon that, I had been through a lot of things up here. I could write a book as far as my experiences here in New York. But right. I started reflecting and started researching just, religion. I just wanted to know. And I had a thirst for, wanting to know the truth. So I started researching. I started, having conversations with a lot of people that I respected who knew the Bible. And there were a lot of things that just didn't add up for me, that I was researching, and I really wanted to learn the truth. And I believe everyone has this type of awakening at least once or twice in their lives. So I started searching. And I remember, that I had seen, Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad back in the early 90s when he came to Lincoln Heights and he gave a speech. I was so impressed, and I was just so in awe of the discipline that the FOI had and that he had over them. And I remember that. And when I was here, I just said, well, let me research and let me explore. So I started listening to a lot of Farrakhan, because at the time, Farrakhan was just saying, he was pushing every button. He was saying all the right things, that I needed to hear at that time, to really process where I was in life. And from there, I just, took a chance one Sunday and I just went down to the mosque 7C. And the brothers, embraced me with open arms, Brother Sherwood Muhammad. And these brothers, they just invited me in. So I said, all right, let me go ahead. I want to become one of the soldiers. And I started training and studying for FOI. And those classes were very enlightening, up on 127th in Harlem. And I had a great time, just learning, being able to fellowship, in the brotherhood of the Nation of Islam. And it really got me through a very tough period in time that I was going through, because I was trying to figure things out. But what really attracted me to the religion and the practice was the discipline.
Yeah.
I believe that, as far as Christianity is cool for some who may not need or who may not have discipline problems. But, a lot of us come up where, we're...
Well, a lot of them do. A lot of them do.
Yeah. So we need that discipline. And I needed that discipline because I do believe in a higher power that's greater than us. And I wanted to have that discipline, to practice, in my worship, practice and worship, So that's pretty much what my reasoning was.
That's dope. Well, we almost on the home stretch, man. And I definitely got to get into this next segment and talk about a crew fun time that we had, because we had parties, we had, kicking sessions at my crib, your crib, Kurt crib, you know what I'm saying? So I'm going to go to Kurt first, and I want to go to Barry, man. Give me a time that we kicked it and we had a good time, Kurt, that you can remember, that one that kind of stands out.
Oh, man, for me, it would have to be the last party we threw as ASAD. And when I say the last party, it was the biggest because each one of our parties grew in size of the venue and in addition size of the people that came.
And just to pause you, Kurt, for those that don't know, ASAD stands for Ain't Shit Else to Do Productions. And we created this one day sitting around saying we want to throw parties in and bring some excitement to the city. And we was just thinking, and we came up with this name and we started throwing parties. So Kurt is talking about our last party that we threw. So I just wanted y'all to get an understanding of what that is when he said ASAD.
Yeah, so when we talk about ASAD, which stands for Ain't Else to Do, it was funny to hear this past football season when Joe Burrow, expressed about about the pandemic. He said, there's nothing to do in Cincinnati, so I don't have to worry about
I don't worry
going out
about
there.
getting
But
COVID.
that made me think about that made me really think about ASAD. But yeah, we at your parents' old home over on Reeser, we put together an idea for us to not only get the city, jumping, but also to make some bread.
Absolutely.
As young, myself, I was in high school. A few of you guys were in college.
Yeah.
But majority of our crew was outside of high school. And just for us to be able to manifest the idea, the carousel, we had it past capacity, which used to be a theater.
Yes.
But I said all this to get to the actual thing that stuck out the most to me was the after party for that party. There was an album out by Jodeci, the show, the after party in the hotel, and I know that we completed all three of those. I mean, we were in Barry's crib like we was living single,
Man.
like we was living
Bachelors.
like we was living single. We had young ladies over there, you know what I'm saying? We were kicking it. Everybody had them a little thing. We didn't have the red light special, but we had the blue light.
The blue light special.
Very screwed in the blue light, and
Facts.
like we always do about this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
You know what that blue light special mean? I mean, it's going down.
Now, Bondz, you was notorious for having house parties, and I really think the idea with ASAD probably came from us having parties at your mom's crib. Because shout out Miss O'Connor, she always worked third shift as a nurse, so we always got it in. So give me your favorite story at one of the parties at the crib, whether on Simpson Court or in the Colony.
Yeah, definitely the Colony all day. Definitely the Colony. Now, see, no, people don't understand this, but I really originally got all this naturally from my mother. Because my mother used to just throw parties just on the humble. It could be just because she got paid on Friday. You know what I'm saying? She would just
social butterfly.
And she
social butterfly.
She was social butterfly. She would invite all her people, and the house would be packed. We had a house in Lincoln Heights, and we had a deck on it. She would bring out the grill. She would do all this stuff, and the place would be packed. And, growing up like that, I said, you know what, man, I'm seeing this type of vibe, having these parties. Yeah, I like that. So when she started working nights and I was of age, I was like, well, I'm going to throw my own parties. So every time.
when you were of age?
Yeah, I mean, bro, when I was like, what? I was like, 12 years old, starting to do this stuff, bringing over people, hanging out. I mean, we were like, 14, 15 doing this when we first started.
Yeah.
And, the time that we was going, I was like 16, 17, and we was up in the Colony.
Yeah.
Maybe even younger than that. Yeah, it had to be about 16, 17.
15, 16, yeah.
15, 16, because I didn't get my license till I went to Fairfield. So we was 15, 16. We up in the Colony. Mom's leaving to work. She had to be at work by 9, so she's leaving about 8 o'clock, 8:30, something like that. Everybody's hanging outside just in front of the house. So
waiting.
She's leaving. She like, yeah, now, look, don't be having a whole bunch of people in my house, this and that, the other. So I'm like, all right, Ma, I got you. So she leaves. As soon as she leaves, we see the lights trail off in the distance. Boom, everybody's in the house. We up in the house. We chilling, and we start playing, all the latest slow jams. I was notorious for the slow jams, kept those on deck. So we playing the song of the year. I Get Weak in the Knees by by SWV.
Sisters with Voices.
Oh man, we got everybody up in there grinding a hole in each other. You know what I'm saying?
Man, I can imagine because that it start off dun dun dun, and then all of a sudden, man, boom, it had that drop in it. Yeah.
That whole album was fire. So we got everybody in there grinding. They grinding on couches. They on the steps. They on by the door. It looked like a Cooley High house party up in there that night. So then all of a sudden we hear a car, and then we see the lights coming closer and closer until they were just shining directly into the window. Luckily we had the blinds closed, but I mean, when we saw it, it was like, yo, mom's home, everybody out. So boom, everybody scatter and move to the back, out into the back porch. Everybody, real quick. Moms come in, I try to play it off like, you know, what's going on, moms? What you doing? You know what I'm saying? You came home, what's going on? Moms forgot her lunch, you know what I'm saying? So she get her lunch, boom, she leaves, you know, kiss her on the cheek. All right, mom, talk to you later, goodbye. And then as she bounces out, boom, everybody comes back in.
I'm back.
Oh, we resume the party. I got the camcorder. We out here going. I see Alan Brown over there with the girl Wendy, the little Mexican chick. Everybody thought she was the hottest thing in the whole, you know, complex and whatnot. He grinding on her, D on a little chick over here grinding on her. I'm over here. I forget all everybody who was with us, but we had at least 20 people up in the crib that night.
Al Chang was over there. Jubin, shout out to Jubin was there.
Yep. Al Chang was up in the building, you know, doing his thing. I mean, we
After
just had
hours.
Total.
Hours.
It was a club. I could have charged people.
Yes.
It was a club.
Yes.
And I think that's what actually spurred on the whole, you know, inspired me to say, you know, like, what's up, man? Let's do a party. Let's do a big citywide party. My only thing is we should have just kept that thing going, man, instead of stopping it, man.
I knew he's gonna say that. He always say that.
One incident. We only had one incident. And that's
true.
It. Everything else was peace and love.
Yeah, and we're gonna end up talking about all three of our parties. I feel like each party deserves its own episode. That's how big and massive and epic they were, and they got bigger and bigger, as Kurt stated. You know what I'm saying? As we got to that third one, that was at the legendary Carousel, and if you could see this picture right now, that was the promotions that they had on the movie marquee.
The marquee,
of us having our party that night at the Carousel, right on Reading Road. That's not even there anymore. So anybody that went to high school from like 95 to 2000, they remember those parties. Like I said, me and Barry was freshmen in college. Roger was the senior, and then my brother and Kurt was like juniors. You know what I mean? It was. We had a real diverse crowd, and like I said, we're going to talk about those parties because they was epic in Cincinnati. Everybody knows about
crazy,
our parties.
Dude, think about it. We're in
pounded
college,
the pavement.
bringing people down from Wright State.
Right.
Jay and Kurt, they in high school, so they bringing people down from
Princeton and Fairfield.
Princeton and Fairfield. You know what I'm saying? And then we got others who are everywhere else in other city or in other communities. Like, you know, we stopped and we did some promoting over there at the Black Family Reunion. We was down there at Hughes High School. Like we
and
really
our flyers.
Got on there we really
our
got
flyers. Our flyers were so attractive because they were literally like a Cash Money Records album or a No Limit album with just all the, you know, the luxury items on it.
Exactly.
You know, you
shout out to Roger. He made our flyers. He was our flyer guy. Yep.
Yeah. And Roger was definitely ahead of his time, man, on that. He was definitely ahead of his time.
And it's a lot of guys that's, you know, really running the city with clubs and things that was at that party, right?
Talk about it, Bondz. Yep.
Yeah, they were. You know, it was that time was a real pivotal time because I really hadn't seen too many people really doing it at that level. Like we had all of these locations packed, wall to wall, sweating. Like I'm gonna send you the pictures and whatnot so you can just see, you know, the pictures of us. This whole thing was packed. The Apple is a nightclub, huge, packed, wall to wall. People in there sweating. Me and D on the stage and whatnot, looking down and got a great crowd, a great picture of just, you know, the whole man. And then, you know, of that, we had, you know, the boy DB, you know, DeBron Betts, shout out to him. You know,
another church boy. His dad played bass in the church band with me, so that was our brother. Yep,
exactly. That was our brother. He started with us in the church and whatnot. You know, retreats, all that. So he grew up with us, but he came to our parties and whatnot and supported us. And then he went on and stuff to do parties with Donnie in the city. They had a good 10-year run, and to that he opened up the Mix you know what I'm saying, that club The Mix, and then open up other, establishments as well. So, and then TC,
Yeah,
he
he
came
was
to that
there.
party that night because AJ introduced me to TC that night. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? And I talked to him in the parking lot and whatnot. I was hanging with my little thing that I had, lost through the holy hustle that night. She came back around, and she came back around for one night. You know what
You
I'm
said
saying?
when you had that clout, huh?
We had that.
So,
Right.
I was like, all right, cool. So, I'm talking to him, and then he goes on to, throw all these parties and then concerts, and then opens up a string of clubs, and, just out of here, But
Yep.
I will say this is that I really wonder what would happen if we would have kept going and we didn't stop.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an episode in itself, man. That's always been the question, had we not stopped, but we here now. So we about to end, man. We in the last segment, man. What do you expect to come, and what would you like to come, Kurt, as we continue on this church after hours journey, man, as we journey from episode 2 and then just take off, going even further and higher? Same question for you, Bondz, after Kurt.
More of what I said last episode, create some bridges over some troubled waters that we may have had to go through. The younger people that may hear this may not have to go through some reminiscing, like Barry just said. It's amazing to hear some of these stories, and just to go back, the cliches I always said, you got to know where you come from to know where you're going.
That's right.
And then I think that's very important, very important. You had me gassed last episode also when you spoke about Pastor Pipus by chance coming on the podcast. I think that would be amazing. I would love to hear his perspective of what was going on then and now. Ultimately, I would like to see some a reunion, maybe hosted by ASAP D, and
Yeah.
Same
maybe
for you,
Bondz.
Bondz.
Maybe might be able to get back into that since y'all wanted to stop early. You know what I'm saying? We might be able to pick that back up.
You
30
never
something years
know.
later. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, you moving back
Never
home, so
know.
we might can put something together, man.
Yeah,
Never
definitely.
know.
Definitely, that'd be good. But I think this will be good for some of the younger kids to be able to listen to and understand that you don't have to be a lame or considered a lame if you're practicing or into your religion.
Doing the right thing,
making the right moves. Because I'm trying to tell you, it was literally this much. I was this close from picking the left lane instead of going the right lane. And if I would have picked the left lane, then I would have ended up like a lot of the friends that I was hanging out with at the center in Lincoln Heights, hanging out, in different spots in Lincoln Heights where, some of those dudes are probably still there on those corners. Some of them are dead, because a lot more, happened. A lot of Calis, we lost a lot. I've lost a lot of people along the way, people that I knew I hung out with. So I was this close from going that direction, but this might be one of those deciding factors, for someone to hear stories, hear good times, hear brotherhood, hear connection,
right?
And also to be able to find that higher power that to tap into them to be able to make the right decision, because you never know, they may be this close from going the wrong direction.
That's right. Well, hey man, this is episode 2 of Church After Hours. This is me, Diallo, my man Kurt Kareem, and our brother Barry Bondz, who will be back joining us frequently because he's one of the founders and one of the pillars of our crew, man. So it's beautiful having you on here and hearing your thoughts and sharing your stories, man. And we'll see y'all next week for episode 3. Peace.
Church After Hours.